In this presentation, we're going to discuss about events and exception in Windbg. Events and exceptions are similar to breakpoints. In fact, breakpoint itself is a special case of an exception. So exceptions and events more or less behave like an out-of-the-box built-in breakpoint. Both exception and events stop the execution of a program and give the control to the debugger if a debugger is attached, and the debugger can decide based on the commands we are giving to the debugger. It can decide what is next, like in the case of a breakpoint. Many of the exceptions are mostly decided by the CPU, like division by zero, alignment exceptions, etc. Exception can be software exceptions as well, like C++ exception, C#, .NET, Java, etc. Again, events are similar to exception, but it is a little bit more OS specific, majorly some specific actions in the operating system, like loading a binary, for example, and majority the default action is ignore. So we are not going into the details of this at the moment, because there is a bigger topic in Windows called structured exception handling, or SEH. Hopefully we will have a discussion on structured exception handling in the future presentation, and we will get into the technical details of exception and events in those presentations. Currently what we are going to do is we are going to see what are the features debugger provides, or Windbg provides, to control these exceptions and events. So some of the example for exception: access violation. For example, you are trying to dereference a null pointer. That is an access violation. Division by zero. Illegal instruction execution. You are giving a machine code which is not legal, or processor don't understand. That is an illegal instruction. So it will break into the operating system. So it will interrupt the kernel with an illegal instruction. Stack overflow. That is an exception. Your stack is completely used. CLR exception, which can be a .NET software exception raised by the common language runtime. Like that, C++, Java, most of the object-oriented programming languages has exception. There are certain Win32 APIs like a raise exception to create exceptions. Following a couple of samples for events: process creation, process exit, thread creation, thread exit, a load module. We're going to see load module in the demo. If you want, you can explore other events as well. Now, how do you control this exception from the debugger? So we have the command called set exception, or SX. Just like in the case of breakpoint, we have enable, disable, etc. As a matter of fact, Windbg has a very user-friendly UI for this particular command. So in the demo, we will be using the UI rather than the command itself for a change. So these are the different ways we can handle an exception or an event. So the first one is a break into the debugger. So whenever that particular exception happens, say for example access violation, always break into the debugger. There is something called second chance break. We're gonna see it shortly. So I'm not going to explain the difference between first chance and second chance exception in this particular presentation, because we have not discussed structured exception handling. The next is output. So whenever the event happens, just print the output in the debugger window. And the last one is ignore. Just ignore the event or exception. no action taken from the debugger. Debugger just ignore that exception. Now let's see a demo of exception. Again, we have our hello world application. In the end of the hello world, we have a couple of new statements which will cause a division by 0. For this presentation, we can focus on this particular part of the program. So here we have a division by 0 because a and b is 0. So let's see the behavior of the debugger. So it has broken into the debugger. So integer division by 0, first chance. So this is a first chance exception the debugger got directly from the CPU. Now if I press a G again, the debugger will hand over this exception to the operating system. Operating system will search for a handler for this exception in this particular application. If it is not present, again there will be a break into the debugger, which is going to be the second chance exception. As I mentioned, I'm not going into the details. So I don't have a handler, don't have a try catch around the exception causing statement. So I got a second chance. Now this application cannot recover. So this is sometimes we call crash of the application. This is how you control it. Debug event filters. So these are the different events and exception. So this is the integer divide by 0. It is currently enabled. So what we can do is we can ignore this and restart the application. Let's see what is going to happen. So in this case we have a division by 0 ignored and it is not handled. Same application. I'm going to press a G, go. So we are not getting any break into the debugger, but this application is currently crashed. So I'm going to manually break into the application. So this is where the application got crashed. So this particular to function shows that the application is crashed. So in this case, although the application got crashed, a debugger didn't get a chance to handle the exception because we ignored that exception. Now let's see an example of an event. For that I'm going to open a notepad. So I have opened a 32-bit notepad. So basically these are a module load events. You might have seen this before. So currently the default action for a module load is display. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break for that module load event. So again, event filters from the debugger menu, load module, currently it is output or display. Now I'm going to enable it, which means I'm going to break into the debugger when module load happens. Now I'm going to press G. So I try to load this particular module, im32.dll, and I got a break. Again, you can give commands like in the case of breakpoints. You can do that with sx command as well. Also, if the exception card is not present in this particular list we are seeing here, you can add a custom exception code here, and we can do all the functions of a listed exception like enable, disable, handled, not handled. So handled, not handled we'll be discussing when we discuss structured exception handling. Doesn't make much sense if I explain anything here. So we have seen exceptions and events. We have seen example for one exception and one event in the demo. They are pretty similar to breakpoints. Also, breakpoint is a special type of exception. We have also seen using debugger how to control the handling or the behavior of the debugger when a particular exception or event happens. That's it. Thank you very much.